Three religious figures, each creating a religion to last for a long time. From starting the largest religion to creating different sects of Christianity to represent different views of a diverse group of followers, these figures arguably have made one of the biggest impacts on humanity. Starting with the creation of the Catholic Church, many dissatisfied followers broke off after the Protestant Reformation, creating several different sub-branches of Christianity, such as Mormonism and a religious society of Friends. The first of these famous figures is Jesus Christ, one of the most influential figures of the human race, starting a religion with over 2 billion followers. Jesus is the founder of Christianity. His life and teachings are recorded in the New Testament. Jesus was born in 6 BC in the city of Bethlehem. Christians say he is the Son of God and believe that he is the Messiah. They believe he died for his people's sins. His mother was Mary, who was a virgin, but still bare a son. Jesus is said to have been born through what is called Immaculate Conception. That means that God put the baby into the womb of Mary. He is said to have been born while Herod the Great was in power. When Jesus was born, an attempt to kill him was made by Herod by ordering all male kids under the age of 2 to be killed. An angel warned Joseph of this, so Mary and Jesus were brought to Egypt until Herod died. After Herod died, Mary and Jesus went back to live in a town called Nazareth, which was in Galilee. Jesus would often leave to towns near Nazareth to preach his ideas and gain more followers or disciples. One of the most famous moments in Jesus' life was the Last Supper. Him and his disciples met for a Passover meal the day before he would be killed. He said his final words of wisdom to them, hoping that they would continue to preach his beliefs and grow their religion. Just the next day, Jesus was taken to court where he was mocked and beaten for saying he was the Son of God. Then he was brought to Pontius Pilate, who decided he would be crucified. Jesus was then crucified, but instead of being thrown into a pile of bodies, he was put into a tomb. 3 days later, his tomb was empty. Jesus is said to have risen from the dead 3 days after crucifixion. Jesus found his disciples hiding and told them not to fear. He told them that they must preach to the world his ideas to spread the religion. Today, Christianity is the most popular religion, but it is very strange how there is no historical evidence that Jesus ever lived. George Fox was born at Fenny Drayton, which is in England. When Fox was 19, he started believing more in God and thought that God spoke to him saying that he should not associate young people and old people. So basically, be completely individual. He decided to do this and started to be very religious. He started to live a life solely based on faith. This doesn't mean he never talked, just he was very reliant on faith and didn't have the time for family and friends. In around 1647, Fox started to begin preaching. He would travel to different places to preach his beliefs, put an end to the uniformity laws under which Quakers had been persecuted, permitting them to assemble freely. 2 days after preaching, as usual, at Gracechurch Street Meeting House in London, George Fox died between 9 and 10 p.m. on 13th of January, 1691. He was interred in the Quaker burying ground, Bunhill Fields, 3 days later in the presence of thousands of mourners, which was of course Christianity, but he also to preach the way of life. George Fox was imprisoned in 1649 for interrupting a sermon. He only had a small stay in jail. Fox's religious group called themselves the Friends in Truth, or just the Friends for short. By 1657, around 1,000 Friends were imprisoned as well, which made it much more difficult for Fox to spread his ideas. The Society of Friends started to grow and became organized towards the end of the decade. They started to hold many large gatherings, which included a 3-day event in Bedfordshire. Fox instructed 2 friends to travel around the country to collect the testimonies of Quakers in prisons, to have more evidence of them being persecuted, which eventually led to the creation in 1675 of Meeting for Sufferings, which has continued to the present day. During the last few years of his life, Fox continued to attend the London meetings and could still make representations to Parliament about the sufferings of Friends. The new king, James II, pardoned religious dissenters jailed for failure to comply with the established church, leading to the release of about 1,500 Friends. Though the Quakers lost influence after the Glorious Revolution, which deposed James II, the Act of Toleration in 1689. Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism, was born on December 23, 1805, and died on June 27, 1844, living 38 years. Without knowing it, Joseph Smith would grow up to famously write the Book of Mormon at the age of 24, and later start the religion Mormonism. Once he had successfully started Mormonism, the religion gained over thousands of followers within Joseph's life. Finally, after many years of persecution, In 1831, Joseph and his followers moved to Ohio to find a place to live and practice Mormonism free of persecution. During his life, Joseph established many cities, wrote many important things, and was the governor of a large city called Nauvoo in Illinois. Joseph Smith claimed to be a prophet of God and was said to have helped bring God's message to the people. As a result, he helped to create the true Church of Jesus, also known as the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Sadly, on June 27, 1844, Joseph was killed by an angry mob. By his death, Smith had already attracted thousands of adherents, which ended up turning into millions after centuries. Mormons regard him as a prophet since he started their religion. Many Mormons have written books about him, and there are many modern-day memorials to him. In this documentary, we cover 3 Christian religious figures who, as you have now heard, have helped to grow or create the current most popular religion, and all left a huge legacy on the people of the religion. We cover Jesus Christ, the founder of Christianity, and how he's said to have traveled to different cities, preaching his religion, but was crucified, but then rose from the dead 3 days later. We cover Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, which is one of the most popular sects of Christianity today. Lastly, we cover George Fox, who started the Friends group and was able to fight to make what they were doing legal. Overall, these 3 religious figures were very important in the creation and spread of Christianity, and without them, the religion would not be as big as it is today.